just as righteous as Jesus Christ. Like that fact, and I know that that is kind of hard to believe, or maybe how it was with me, it rubs you the wrong way. Like, this is the beginning. This fact is found in all of those books. And the one where it resonated probably the strongest with me is I was reading. I just found myself in the book of Galatians, and I don't mean that I found myself. I just happened to be reading through the book of Galatians, and it talks about there are two women. Let's just read it. It's Galatians chapter 4, verse 21. It says, Galatians 4:21. Tell me, you who desire to be under the law, do you not hear the law? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by a bondwoman and the other by a free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born according to the flesh, and he of the free woman through promise, which things are symbolic or an allegory. Like this is where like this message resonated the strongest in my life, was these verses, Galatians chapter 4, verse 24, where it starts off, where it says, these two things are an allegory, or whatever translation it says. I think New King James says it's a symbol. So here it is. So I want to read it to you. Galatians 4:24. For these are the two covenants, one from Mount Sinai, which gives birth to bondage, which is Hagar. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and corresponds to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. But the Jerusalem above is free, which is the mother of us all. And then in verse 28, now we, brethren, as Isaac, are children of promise. But as he who was born according to the flesh persecuted him who was born according to the Spirit, even so it is now. Nevertheless, what does the Scripture say? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman, but of the free. So this is the story of Abraham and his wife Sarah, and his wife's slave, bondwoman, whatever it calls it in your translation. Hagar, I don't even really know how you pronounce it, but he says, like, the interesting thing with the Apostle Paul is, like, he writes this like in from coming from such a point as to, like, you should already know this. Like, when you read, like, in Genesis chapter 15, like, when you read these things about Abraham having two wives, basically, or having two children by two different women, Paul's just saying, like, these two women, he's like, they represent the two covenants, and he says it like, well, you should already know this. And it was like, I grew up in church all my life, and I never heard that. I know it's just a scripture, but I never knew that Sarah and Hagar, I never knew that they were symbolic, or that they are representative of the two covenants. One of the law, and then one of the promise. I never knew that. And so when I saw that in scripture, like, as I went through this journey, like, trying to prove this guy wrong, like, when I saw this in scripture, and then when I get down to verse 30, and he says, cast out the bondwoman, cast out Hagar and her son, because they're not going to be heir. What he's saying is, when we are of this new covenant, Sarah, when we are born under the new covenant, Sarah, like, she is our mother, just like Abraham's our father, Sarah is to be our mother. He's saying, get rid of that old covenant. Get rid of the 10 Commandments and everything that is born out of those. Like, that was huge. I have never heard that. And when I read it, I remember the day. I closed my Bible and I was like, this is unbelievable. Because it made sense and I knew what he was talking about. And I was like, there is no way that's right. There is no way I'm supposed to get rid of the Ten Commandments. No way. But then it was like, I kept reading, I kept seeing this throughout all of the epistles. I kept seeing this, that we are righteous and that we are no longer under the Ten Commandments. And they, not only are we not under them, but they need to be removed. It's like, what? Where did that come from? How have I missed that my entire life? And it's like, I'm not, like, I know that I'm the one saying it, but I'm not saying that. That's what Scripture says. Look at verse 30. It says, cast out the bondwoman and her son. Look at verse 25. It says, for this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. And it's like, that's where the Ten Commandments were given. That's where the covenant took place of the Ten Commandments, was on Mount Sinai. He's like, this is who this is, and this is what you need to get rid of out of your life. He's like, our father is Abraham, our mother is Sarah. We have faith, which is Abraham, and we have the Spirit, which is Sarah, which is what we're under, and we do not need the Ten Commandments, or we do not need the law. And when I saw that, I was absolutely, like, it was even more overwhelming. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, and then when, like, this just started something within me. I was like, I cannot believe that I've lived my entire life growing up in Christianity and nobody's told me this. Nobody told me that. It's like, and then it was like, once I believed this and once I knew that this was true, and it produced so much peace in my life. Like, that's what Galatians chapter 5, that's kind of where we started this whole Romans thing, is like, we have peace with God. Like, when I believed that God saw me as righteous apart from my actions, and when I believed that we needed to get rid of the Ten Commandments from our lives, when I believe that, like, it sounds contrary, but it produced so much peace in my life. And I had so much more of an appreciation for God's love for me, because it was something that I could feel. It was something that I knew I did not deserve. It was something that I knew I would never be able to pay for. I could not work anything up that was of any value. And so it puts you in a place of helplessness. But when you're in that place and you are rescued and you are swept up in His arms, I can't explain to you how that feels. But it's something that takes place in your heart that nothing can match it. Nothing can match that. When you know how much God, it's not that you're ever going to know, but when you begin to experience just a little bit of God's true love for you, there's no other feeling that we will ever get in this life that can match that. Like, when God takes the time and is patient with you to take you on this journey and pick up all these pieces of our broken lives, of our broken heart, and He's the one who's holding it all together. Like, there is something that is, it's so, like, it's so internal that it's so hard to explain. But it's like your inner being, who you are at the core, is embraced by love. And it's like that, a strong embrace. And if you ever feel that, it will produce so much peace in your life. Like, believing these things puts so much peace in our lives between us and God. Because it's like, Father, I cannot believe that you love me that much. Because I'm still screwing up. I still mess up. But you keep telling me that I'm righteous. It's like, I don't like that. I don't like when I mess up that somebody tells me, "Hey, that's a good job." I feel like I feel like I'm just a little kid in kindergarten doing some finger painting, and it's like, it sucks. That's terrible. I'm not gonna hang that on my fridge because it doesn't look like anything. It's garbage. And then have somebody tell me like, "Oh, that's the best thing I've ever seen. I am so proud of you." It's like, I don't like it, we don't like that. We like it when we think that we've done something good and somebody's like, "Hey, yeah, you did a great job." But when you realize that it's like, you know what? All I can do is these finger paintings that suck, and they don't even look like what I'm trying to tell you that it is. And like, well, all these good things that we try to give God, and He's like, "I'm proud of you, son. You're the one who I love." It's like when you realize that, it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna receive His love. I'm just gonna receive His love because that's all I can do. So anyway, I think that's a great place to stop. But once again, thank you for taking the time to listen. I think there is so much value in listening. So thank you once again for listening, and I really hope that this helps. So see you again next week.